Hey guys, this is the Record Keeper, and this is my second video. And I just wanted to, I figured with my second video, I'd talk a little bit about my collecting journey, where I'm at in the hobby, maybe a couple of my pet peeves. So, and I have a surprise at the end too. So, I can actually pinpoint the exact day I started collecting records, and that was all the way back in high school when Pearl Jam released Vitalogy. As you can probably see in the background, I'm a big Pearl Jam fan, but I'm sure you guys know the story. They released Vitalogy on vinyl a couple weeks before the CD. And so I absolutely had to have it. So I went out to the record store, bought it on vinyl, and actually at home in our basement we had an old console. So I went home, played it on that, and I was hooked. We had other records growing up and stuff, but that was my first record. After that, I really actually started getting into the Who. Believe it or not, I saw the movie Summer of Sam, the Spike Lee movie, and the Who's all over that soundtrack. So, as soon as I saw that movie and heard that music, I was like, "Wow, who's this?" And bought the soundtrack, and then went into a deep dive that I've never come out of. So, and that, I would say that's when I definitely got serious about collecting records. And, I think when we all start out, we get into that mode where you just want to accumulate. And, so you just buy, everything you can get your hands on. Sometimes you're not too worried about quality or condition. But back then, again, we're talking late 90s. That was probably the golden age for collecting in some ways. Everything was cheap. I still have records from, that I bought back then, that still have the original price labels on them. And, it's shocking to see, what they're worth now, right? Even used records. It's funny. I have a copy of Interiors by Brad. I paid $3 for it. It was a used copy. I paid $3 for it in near mint condition back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, you can look up what it's worth now. But, in terms of my gear, actually back then I used to collect a lot of vintage audio. That was probably also the golden age for that. But, I had all sorts of Marantz gear, old Yamaha, Macintosh. Actually, I was given a pair of VMPS speakers. I walked into a Salvation Army once and almost walked past a pair of Klipschorns that were just sitting there. I did pick those up, and I used to always buy and flip and try and upgrade my stuff. But I actually those K horns, I actually sold them and used that money to buy my wife's engagement ring. And then of course, I got married in 2009, and right before then, we paid for our wedding ourselves. I sold off most of my collection. I kept all my Who, most of my Who records. I kept, my Pearl Jam, just random stuff that I really loved. A lot of original White Stripes, stuff like that. And so all that stuff kind of just sat in storage and moved around with us until around 2017. We bought our current house, and I finally had a permanent place. So I pulled that stuff out of storage, and but I sold off my turntable, so I had to kind of start building a decent setup. And I remember the first turntable I bought after I moved here was a Music Hall MMF5, and which I loved, but I always get the upgrade bug, but I'll talk about that later. I have a kid, and like I said, I'm married, so I don't have a ton of disposable income. So I've always bought and sold and traded my way up to build up my system. Currently I have a VPI Prime Scout with a 3D printed arm and a Goldring 1042 cartridge. I have a Gramsley Golden Era 5 phono preamp. I have a Music Fidelity M6 pre, and then I have Music Fidelity M250 power amps. They're mono blocks. Currently, I only have 2 set up. I do have 4, so I do like to biamp my speakers sometimes. I'm kind of testing out to see if that really makes a difference or not. But my speakers are Apogee Slant 6s. And I also have for mono records, I have a Lenco L75 that I refurbished. I bought it in pretty rough shape. I changed out the original tone arm. I've got a Lin Keto tone arm on there now with a Audio-Technica mono cartridge. It's, I forget the model number on that, but it's the blue one. I think it's like the second from their bottom. But all that gear, I bought and sold stuff just to get where I'm at now. The only thing I did buy new was my VPI turntable. But I think I've hit a point with my system where I'm very satisfied with the way it sounds. Obviously you can always upgrade. I mean, you can spend millions of dollars if you wanted to. Obviously I don't have that kind of money, but I think I am a believer in the law of diminishing returns as well, especially with audio. So, you hit a certain point, and the more money you spend, you're only getting very small incremental upgrades. And, like I said, I'm at the point where I'm pretty satisfied, and, I'd rather spend money on records than gear at this point. So, some of my, where I'm at in my collecting journey, I think at this point it's kind of safe to say I'm all killer, no filler. And what does killer mean to me? It's really, I'm only collecting the music that I really love. Stuff that I know I'm going to listen to more than once. I got to the point where actually when I was trading gear, I was actually going to make a trade for a turntable, and the gentleman I was trading with, he buys and resells records. So he basically, the deal was I give him 500 records, and I could have the turntable. So I went through and I called my collection and came up with 500 records that I really could live without, or thought I could upgrade later, the condition and whatnot. And the trade fell through, didn't happen, but I had already called my collection. I took those records and I traded them in, or sold off what I could. And it felt good because I decided, like I said, I was only going to buy what I love, only keep what I really love, and I was going to focus on condition. Everything in my collection is VG plus or better. It's obviously if it's something super rare, and less than that, I'll still take a chance on it. But for the most part, everything's in tip-top shape. My personal opinion, I know some people say, pops and clicks and noise, that's part of the, vinyl experience. I personally disagree with that. I think, this might cause a little controversy, but if that's what you think, then I personally think you're doing it wrong, right? I love the fact that I can grab any record off my racks and put it on my turntable and not have to worry about, pops and clicks. My cleaning process, I use everything that comes into my collection. I vacuum clean it. I have a record doctor, and then I ultrasonically clean it. I do have a Humming Guru. I also have a Vevor that I bought, and I really only use that like if I buy some like extremely filthy records, which I don't do that often anymore. So I guess that leads me to the question, am I an audiophile? I will say I love music. It's a huge part of my life. That's one of the things that my wife and we bonded on when we first met and first started dating. We still go to concerts. Our wedding was just an excuse to basically play the music we love for our friends and family. My wife walked down the aisle to "We're Gonna Be Friends" by the White Stripes. So it's a big part, a huge part of my life. Last year, 2024, I was able to take my son to his first concert, which was Pearl Jam at Wrigley. So, and he asked me to go. So, I love music so much. I want to get as much out of the grooves as possible. I want to hear every detail, that the artist has put into their recording. If that makes me an audiophile, I guess I'm an audiophile. Right? There's something else that comes up a lot, sealed records. I do buy sealed records. Obviously, we're talking about vintage records. I do buy them, but my intention is always to open them. I might still have some sealed records on my shelves, but I have every intention of opening them. my opinion, records are meant to be played. I've collected other stuff in my life. I actually used to collect vintage racing bikes in my early 20s, a long time ago. I used to meet other collectors who would everything that they own had to be perfect or fully restored. And then once they did that, they would take the bike and just hang it on the wall and never ride it. If you do that, to me, the object ceases to serve its purpose and is no longer what it originally was. So if you hang a bike on the wall and don't ride it, it's not a bike anymore. It's just, a piece of art. Same thing with records. You hang it on the wall, you slab it, it ceases to be a record. At that point, it's just another collectible. It's just a piece of art hanging on the wall. This whole new slabbing thing, personally, I'm against it. Obviously, yes, I understand there's a few examples out there where I guess it makes sense, like the butcher cover. Obviously it's not a record you're buying to, listen to necessarily. I just don't overall see the purpose of it. So actually that brings me to what's behind me. At a record show recently, I found this sealed copy. This is obviously Tommy by the Who, but this is a Classic Records version pressing. It's the 200 gram version, and it's still sealed. I got it for a phenomenal price. I got it, well below the median value on Discogs. And believe me, I was tempted to flip it, but I've been actually, this has been one of my holy grails. I've been looking for this for a long time, and I have all the other Classic Records Who pressings, but this is definitely the hardest one to get and the most expensive. So when I bought it, I really did think about flipping it because of what I paid for it and whatnot. But no, I decided I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to open it, and I'm going to listen to it, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it. So I'm going to open it right now in front of you. There it is. Here it is. It's open. Actually, I have to admit, I've been holding off on opening this just so I could make this video. So I'm extremely happy this is open now. I've been dying to listen to this. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, like I said, records are meant to be played. So that comes to my other surprise for you guys. To the first, I'm going to set this a little high, but so the first, let's say the first 50 people that like and subscribe and leave a comment on this video will be entered to win in a drawing to win this sealed copy of Quadrophenia that I found at one of my local record stores. Shout out to Rattleback Records here in Chicago. This is a later pressing, but it's still Still sealed. Pretty awesome, right? I will pay for shipping myself in the United States, in the continental United States. If you are outside of that area and you win and you want the record, you can help me out on shipping. But other than that, I'm trying to get my channel started, and I figured this would help motivate me to create some more content. I hope you guys were entertained for a little while, but so subscribe, like, and leave a comment, and this might be yours. So, all right, guys, I'm the record keeper, and have a good day.